In today's discussion, we will examine potential candidates for contract renewals with the team before the start of the current season and discuss why this decision is feasible, even if some people may hold a different view. If you're interested in delving deeper into this topic and wish to help clarify the team's financial capacity, this content deserves to be spread. If your friends comment that the team has no salary cap space, know that this idea is incorrect. Currently, using a reliable platform for salary cap information, the team has a space of $10 million, considering the projected cap of nearly $300 million for 2026. However, there are points that deserve attention, as many might argue that this amount is insignificant. This does not take into account the rolling money, which is still pending and won't be resolved anytime soon. Currently, this total is around $30 million, which could decrease to 20 or a similar amount. Therefore, it is important to emphasize that this value should be higher than $10 million once the rolling money is considered. Additionally, the team already has the third highest total of players under contract for 2026, totaling 46 during the offseason. Since only the top 51 contracts are considered, it's clear that forming a normally sized roster is not too far off. Many players have modest salaries, as in practice, the actual commitment is with just 3 players. With the planned restructuring of these 3 contracts, it is possible to free up about $62 million in salary cap space. The contracts are designed to be restructured. The team usually does this during the offseason, while other teams adopt option bonuses. It's a similar practice that simply defers payment to the future, which makes sense given the constant increase in the cap. Therefore, we are considering amounts like 10, 20, 30, and evaluating the situation of the rolling money. $62 million is available, and if necessary, other roster adjustments can be made. It's feasible to release players whose performances do not meet expectations. Furthermore, it's possible to keep players on their current salaries without necessarily having to save that amount. You could restructure or extend their contracts, which would also result in savings. This could range from 0 to $28 million, depending on performance. This strategy may create gaps in certain positions. It is possible that less-known players could fill these gaps. The right tackle position is a critical area. Some players might be replaced by others who are available. The possibility of reaching a significant amount, like $100 million, which the team decided not to pursue last year, is still under discussion. Perhaps the amount won't reach that figure. Maybe it's 70 or 60 at the lowest end. But as we will analyze, several player renewals wouldn't significantly impact the cap numbers this year and next. It's important to highlight that the money and salary cap issue does not represent a problem for the team. They are not comparable to other situations that face different challenges. Don't be misled by contrary statements. There's a significant amount of resources available. They have all the conditions to develop a good plan. As will be discussed, some of these renewals will not truly affect the salary cap outlook in the beginning. This is a relevant issue. Do you trust the contract management? What are your thoughts on this? Leave your comment. Now, let's address the candidates for contract renewals. The most notable, without a doubt, is the edge rusher who is heading to the Hall of Fame and will require a record contract, already in the final year of his agreement. Players who are not quarterbacks and have the highest salaries include an athlete earning an average of $40.25 million annually and another with almost $123 million in guaranteed money. These are the numbers that the team and the athlete in question will likely need to surpass. That's how it works. The last year of the contract. Athletes who are among the highest paid, excluding quarterbacks, include Jamar Chase, with an average of $40.25 million per season, and Myles Garrett, who has nearly $123 million in guarantees. These are the figures that need to be surpassed if a team wants to retain the star Micah Parsons. This is the reality of having an elite player in American football, and it's possible to offer him $40.5 million. These figures were already analyzed earlier, comparing potential contracts. What really matters for Micah is that if the payment happens now, his impact on the salary cap will be minimized. The exact amount is yet to be defined, taking into account this year's salary cap savings and the effect of the contract next year, which is currently null. As he is a free agent, it won't change much the scenario. In fact, there's a very small addition being made to the financial records over the next 2 years. Therefore, I believe that Micah Parsons' contract will be signed, but it should happen sooner rather than later. I wouldn't want TJ Watt to get paid first. I also don't want Aiden Hutchinson to receive priority. Ideally, the deal should be completed quickly. It would be great to have a contract that is among the best in the market, not one that's last on the list. Now, it's possible to predict when the decision on Micah will be announced. The expectation is that it will be a signing, but the trade is also a possible alternative. Now, speaking about Tyler Smith, the guard, he will also have a contract that is among the highest in the market. However, it is important to note that other valuable contracts have been closed over the years. Zach Martin's contract is about to leave the salary cap, and Tyron Smith's contract is nearing its end. Zeke's significant contract has also already been closed. It's not feasible to commit to all three players long-term again. The highest-paid guard in the NFL currently earns $23.4 million annually, while Landon Dickerson has a contract worth $21 million, with a fifth-year option at $21.2. Why not establish a 4 or 5 year contract that includes the fifth-year option? This would significantly increase the pressure on the salary cap this year, in addition to helping balance the numbers for 2026. Instead of having an approximate impact of $25 million in 2025 and 2026, it would be feasible to reduce this, especially in the following year's numbers. Thus, it would be possible to make Tyler Smith the highest-paid guard in the league without major changes to the salary cap outlook. It's true that there would be changes in the numbers for 2028, 2029, and 2030, but this doesn't represent a problem. What really matters is maximizing the 3 to 4 year window. If the strategy doesn't work, you can always start over. If the situation is successful, it will continue until the quarterback needs to retire. There are no significant financial changes in the next 2 years for these two athletes. I'm looking at 60 to 70 million on the salary cap right now. This month, we face a divisional battle against the 49ers, who don't always manage their budget well. We have a good advantage now and should increase it. Now, I believe these two decisions are pretty clear. There's not much to debate about it. The next topic is Don Bland, the quarterback, who could become a situation of choosing one or the other. The quarterback market has evolved, and recently Derek Stanley and J.C. Horn got big contracts. I'm curious to know what Don Bland will be looking for on the open market or in an extension. There are some level gaps between Patton and a potential extension for Jai Alexander, who is at 21. Diggs receives 19.4. I believe a minimum value for the top 10 should be closer to the top 5 to close with Don Bland. This is feasible, but it would result in a larger salary cap hit over the next 2 years, as he is a late draft player and has no records for the following year. Therefore, this would impact the salary cap space for the first time. When analyzing the financial repercussions, it's crucial to examine a particular player's situation. Opting for 11th round selections indeed results in a larger impact on the salary cap over the next 2 years, with no financial obligations for the next year. This decision will affect their salary cap space for the first time. The choice boils down to deciding between two defenders. By releasing one, you would save a considerable amount, which would likely become your expense next year for the other player. It could even be a little less than that, but it's close enough to justify keeping the second player long-term while moving forward with the first, allowing another athlete to take an external position. This scenario presents 3 players for evaluation, and if you prefer one over the other, your salary cap numbers will remain largely unchanged. The question that arises is, who would you prefer to keep? Personally, I think choosing one is the most sensible strategy. It's a simple decision, one player or the other. Shifting the focus to a recent addition, it seems that negotiations for an extension are not on the table right now, which indicates that it will be a topic to be discussed in the upcoming months. Looking at some relevant contracts, one player occupies the top spot, followed by another in third place, and a new athlete in fourth. A recent contract also stands out. Players in similar positions who are recovering from injuries are recognized as second options on their respective teams, with the potential to be starters elsewhere. Another athlete had less impressive production before a recent trade. If I were in a certain team's position, I would hesitate to take on the financial expectations of some players at this moment. It seems both parties may prefer to treat this as a prove-it deal. I agree with this approach, especially as someone who advocates for fair compensation. Letting this situation unfold makes sense, especially for a player who now benefits from the best quarterback he has ever played with. In fact, I support this idea. As someone who discusses compensation, I'm fine with letting this situation unfold because I believe the player is very much in favor of it. I understand that if you're that player, you're playing with the best quarterback you've ever had and want to seize this opportunity. So, I see a potential scenario involving the franchise tag. Personally, I'd prefer not to use the franchise tag, as it doesn't offer flexibility. The cost is significantly higher for receivers compared to edge rushers, as contracts are divided between defensive line and linebacker positions. Consequently, some of these substantial contracts are distributed between the two. Defensive player contracts are also considerable, and tight end contracts are significant as well. If you have a franchise tag available, I would prefer not to use it, though I can imagine it could be applied to this player, depending heavily on how this season unfolds, which is still uncertain. Again, this would consume a significant portion of their salary cap at this time. We'll soon bring more updates on trades, news, rumors, and contracts we expect to be finalized soon. Moving on to another player, this situation seems to fall into a slightly different category. Unlike the previous discussion, this player isn't seeking a friendly deal for the team. You may have to choose between the two defenders, probably. Some key players will require elevated market salaries, but I don't believe this player will be among them. I'm curious if there's a team-friendly contract available for this individual. The tight end market has also undergone significant changes. Some athletes were well compensated this offseason. I doubt anyone thinks this player should be receiving an excessive amount annually after a previous season that wasn't particularly impressive. However, one could argue that this player is on the same level as a former teammate, even after a disappointing year, and that contract is dated several years ago. Therefore, salary inflation could translate this into something around a reasonable amount now. Perhaps you have confidence that this player will recover, and who knows, they may accept a team-friendly deal. They've made statements that align with the team's preferences, indicating that it's a privilege to play for them. Many years ago, an agreement was made. In this way, the salary cap inflation effectively converts this into values that range between 14, 15, and 16 million. Now, maybe you believe a player could rehabilitate and accept a contract that favors the team. They made some remarks aligned with the organization's principles, such as recognizing that it's a privilege to represent the team and play at such a high level. At times, the team has erred in investing in players, generally in unexpected renewals that happen prematurely, like with some athletes. There's a present risk, and it's considerable. If the decision is to mark a player, it's possible to argue that we should look for a more economical alternative for the position and avoid paying for average or above-average performances. However, I believe this is the positive outlook when reaching a deal that benefits the group. Now, I see these as extremely pertinent issues. Would you like to renew a player's contract? If you want to keep them, indicate it. If you prefer to release them, make your choice. Would you like to proceed? Leave your opinion in the comments. Let's talk about a kicker, for example. For me, this situation is quite clear, but there's a detail. He will be a restricted free agent next season. So, there's an opportunity for the team to control this, which could be advantageous. If the team desires, there's a second-round tender proposal around $5 million. There's also the alternative of applying the franchise tag again. And in 2026, should they choose this path, their options are they can apply the RFA tender and make him the highest-paid kicker in the NFL. This wouldn't be a surprise at this point. This would mean surpassing a player who has a 4-year contract worth over $25 million, with an average of 6.4. He's exceptional. I've never been a fan of paying for kickers, but he practically doesn't miss. You'd probably let this year unfold and then see what happens. So, who wouldn't you want to keep? I believe there are several names to consider. You probably won't pay all 6. That's fine. There are other players whose contracts won't be renewed. Leave your opinion in the comments. Other prominent free agents, and I don't believe these athletes, maybe 1 or 2, will return, but if you tag or keep a player, it's likely that they'll leave. That's acceptable. One athlete, There are other names you won't pay either. Share your thoughts in the comments on today's debate. There are several renowned free agents, and I believe maybe one or two could return, but it seems that tagging or keeping a player probably won't happen. That's acceptable. As for another athlete, we'll have to wait and see. He has been a player who can consistently surprise or disappoint. I believe another athlete is out. I don't see how he could return next season. The team has invested in many defensive players in the second round. One athlete is having a year where they need to prove their worth. Another player's situation remains uncertain. Honestly, I don't think anyone would be upset if these players didn't return. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Amari Cooper arrived at the Dallas Cowboys headquarters today to finalize a major 4-year contract, marking a pivotal moment for both the franchise and the star wide receiver. The atmosphere was electric as fans gathered outside the facility, eager to catch a glimpse of the Pro Bowler who has become a central figure in the Cowboys' offensive lineup. Cooper, who first joined Dallas in a mid-season trade from the Raiders in 2018, has consistently delivered top-tier performances, quickly establishing himself as one of quarterback Dak Prescott's most reliable targets. This new deal reaffirms the Cowboys' commitment to building around a strong offensive core, and Cooper's presence will continue to be a key element in their strategy. Over the years, he has shown elite route-running skills, dependable hands, and the ability to change games with big plays, traits that made him a priority for the front office. With over 1,000 receiving yards in multiple seasons and a reputation for delivering in critical moments, Cooper's re-signing ensures stability and continuity in the receiving core, especially amid ongoing changes in the NFL landscape. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones was present during the signing and expressed his enthusiasm about keeping Cooper in Dallas for the long haul. Amari embodies everything we look for in a Cowboy: talent, professionalism, and a relentless drive to win, Jones said. We believe this agreement sets the stage for great things to come. Cooper himself appeared confident and focused, stating, "I'm excited to keep building with this team. The fans, the city, the organization, it feels like home." As training camp approaches, the Cowboys now turn their attention to maximizing their revamped offense, with Cooper leading the charge. With expectations high for the upcoming season, his signing is not just a contractual move, but a statement of intent. Dallas is all in, and with Amari Cooper officially locked in for the next 4 years, the message is clear. The Cowboys are ready to contend, and their star receiver will be right at the heart of it. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.